Hi everyone, Brian with AudioBiz here. As most of you know, Shure has moved most of the SKUs for ULXD into a G57 band, which encompasses all of the previous G50, H50, and J50A bands. While that opens up some amazing possibilities, there are a couple gotchas if you're using existing transmitters with some of the new receivers. For example, if you have an H50 and do a simple scan and sync from the receiver, it may choose a frequency in the G50 band, which will give you an error when you try to do an IR sync. We'll show you how to use inclusion groups in Wireless Workbench to automate your workflow a little bit and hopefully give you some tips moving forward. Here we go. We've opened up Wireless Workbench, and now we're going to add a new device. So we'll go in here. For this example, we're going to use the ULXD Quad in G57. This works the exact same way for the new ANX4 receiver, and this will also work should any other Shure products become wideband in the future. So we've got our 4 channels, we'll add those in, they appear in our workspace, and we can get to work. So the first thing we'll notice is if we double click on the inclusion group, it's empty, and that's because we haven't set anything up yet. There's a couple different ways to do it. Personally, I usually go to the frequency coordination window and go to the inclusions here, and we can see there's nothing applied, so we're going to add the gear and start adding. So we do want to account for an inclusion list, and we're going to hit manage to create a new one. So we'll create a new list, we'll double click and name this ULXD. Now you'll notice if this isn't highlighted, these additional options don't pop up. So once this is highlighted, you'll get this nice plus. We'll add 3 groups. We'll add a G50, an H50, and a J50A. You can then highlight any of these groups and we'll add our inclusion range. So we've looked it up, and our G band goes from 470 up to 534. And you'll notice this is a little bit bigger than 50, so you'll want to double check this every time just to be safe. We'll move on to our H50, add that in. So H50 starts at 534 and ends at 598. And our J50 band starts at 572 and ends at 616. Now we can hit save right away, but one thing I'd like to point out is if we hit the gear button under the list, we can import or export these lists. Wireless Workbench doesn't keep a continuing stored version of all your lists, so you'll want to make sure to do this so that you can use it in the future. We can hit save, and now we'll see we have an inclusion list. And if we go back to our inventory tab, in an inclusion group, you'll see now we can select H50A. Or H50, sorry. If we shift click, it will select all of these, and then we can go into our channel properties, open up coordination if it's not available already, and select the appropriate inclusion group here, hit apply, and we'll see that applies to all of them. So we'll go back to our frequency coordination tab just to kind of show what we've just done. We'll shrink this down and move it back over by our UHF range. Add frequencies just like we always do, hit calculate, and there you'll see we are all nicely packed into the H50 band. Well, what if we have multiple transmitters that might be on different versions of those bands? We can accommodate that as well. So we can hit delete and clear our coordination space, go back to inventory, and let's say that number 3 is actually a G50 and number 4 is a J50A. We can repeat our coordination process here, select our frequencies. You'll notice they're all separated out now. We hit calculate, and there we can see our G50, our 2 H50s, and our J50A. I will note there are some other uses to this inclusion groups where we can do some things like separate PSMs from wireless mics, for an example, in the spectrum. But that's basically how that's all done. That was a quick tutorial on how to use inclusion groups specifically with the ULXD new wideband stuff. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to AudioBiz. If you're outside of the upper Midwest, you can feel free to reach out to your authorized representative, or you can always contact Shure directly. Thank you for watching.